We're unmuted and ready to roll.
Right. Good evening and welcome to the August 13th, 2025 meeting of Community Board 2 Manhattan's Land Use and Housing Committee. We have quorums and we have one item on the agenda, 51. Is it 51 or is it 55? 51, okay. 51 Little West 12th Street, application to the Board of Standards and Appeals for zoning variance pursuant to ZR 7221 to permit the construction of a 14-story mixed-use commercial and residential building in an M15 zoning district. So first, we're going to introduce the committee members, and then we will get started, jump right into the presentation. I see that there are a number of people here. I'll ask you to introduce yourselves too. So my name is Katie Bordenaro. I'm vice chair of the committee. To my left.
Hi, I'm Eugene Yu, chair of the Land Use and Housing Committee.
Yeah, hi, Bill Ricobono. I'm a member of the committee.
Donna Raftery, member of the committee.
Arturo Fernandez, member of the committee.
Susan Wittenberg, member of the committee.
And we have members of the public here as well. So,
And
Richard.
Patricia Siegel remotely.
Oh, thank you, Frederica. Thank your picture just popped up.
And Carter Booth, and I'll be there momentarily.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Carter. I guess Richard Lobel, can you introduce your team? I see quite a few people here, so we'd like to know who they are.
Sure, happy to do so. So Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel PC, good to see everyone on the committee. With me here from Alexia Landisman and Jed Weiss. We are here representing Novak Nouri. Novak, if you can say hi, who is sitting with the architect. So we have both Fatih Ergan and Walter Marin. And we've got also Olga Abinader, who is our environmental consultant.
Thank you so much. Do you have a presentation?
We do.
Okay, well, just hold on a minute. We'll just say that first, we're going to ask for you to present. Then committee members will ask you questions. And then the public, both here in person or any online, will also ask questions or bring up questions or concerns. And then after we've heard from the public, then we'll come back to you, Richard, as you know, to address any of the things that have come up. I see that we're being joined by the community board chair as online as well, Valerie De La Rosa. Isn't she?
Susan's here.
Susan.
Susan's here as well.
Yeah, and most recent past chair, Susan Kent is online as well. When we're talking, we'll all be respectful of one another, and everyone will address the committee, and if we ask you to, hold on a minute, please just follow the directions of the chair. Okay, so Richard, you have the presentation, Mark, or?
Great, so Alexia is going to be loading the presentation.
Thank you.
And as she does so, I will just give a brief background. In terms of the application, we're here for a variance at BSA pursuant to 7221 of the zoning resolution. I will be presenting briefly in terms of the rationale for the variance. Walter will be able to discuss the architectural plans and what would be intended at the site if the variance is granted. Olga's happy to answer any environmental questions, and then the entire team is really happy to answer questions generally. We're here
just a minute, Richard. There's been a request online to hear you a little better. Maybe you could get a little closer to the microphone.
Happy to do it.
Thank you.
All right, great. Assuming this is okay. So we're here today with Novak Nouri. While I have been in front of this committee many times with a range of owners, developers, I've never been here really with someone like Novak. He is a local product. At 80 years young, he is a musician and artist who has had the property at 51 West 12th Street for, I think now over 40 years. And during that time, it's been a challenge at that site. There was originally a building there that was there since 1961, that was 3 stories. And in 2009, as people may be aware, pursuant to the construction at the Standard Hotel, the building was damaged, and a demolition order was issued, an emergency demolition order by the Department of Buildings, making it now a vacant lot. Those passing by the site, which you may be aware of between Washington Street and 10th Avenue, would likely be impressed by the fact that Novak regularly has artistic going-ons at the site. There are often rainbows issued from the site, which, should you go online and take a look, you will see. He's been a beloved local community member for decades, and so now is seeking this variance in order to really help him out in terms of making a productive use of the site. The next slide is a summary of the application. This is an application pursuant to 7221, a variance from BSA. And the variance would seek the development here of a 14-story mixed-use building at the premises, contrary to the use requirements of the M15. So this block and lot is within an M15 zoning district in the meatpacking district. We'll go over the maps later just to situate everyone. It is across from the block which houses the Whitney Museum, directly across from the proposed Gansevoort Square development, and directly adjacent to the lot which houses the Standard Hotel. The building here would be a 14-story building with a cellar with roughly 18,000 square feet of floor area at a 7.02 FAR. This layout would include commercial use on the ground floor with some accessory use on the second story, and then 12 residential units above. That's it. If you go to the next slide, Alexia, I would just note here that while the use is important to Novak, the opportunity to allow residential here, the actual extent of the waiver in terms of the difference in this building is quite small. So this is a 2,500 square foot lot on which you would be able to have a floor area of 16,700 square feet. And the proposal here would be for an 18,000 square foot residential building. So really the difference in terms of the square footage of the proposed building and what would be allowed as of right is roughly 1,500 square feet. That's really it. But the proposal here is very important to Novak because given the condition of the property and the challenges in building on a lot of this size, of this nature, with some of the conditions we'll discuss, there's no way you could put a conforming commercial manufacturing building at the site. Not only would it not make sense, it's just not a productive use of the site. So again, the background of the application, we're within an M15 district, the lot, a small lot at 2,580 square feet, proposal for a 14-story mixed-use building, and of course, pursuant to 7221, we need to make our variance findings. Here, those are, of course, unique physical conditions, a reasonable return that the variance is required in order to make a reasonable return, neighborhood character, self-created hardship, and minimal variance. So I think we can discuss those, but I would have Alexia turn to the next slide. So we can give some context in terms of really what's requested here. So maximum lot coverage for a building within the M15 as of right, 50%. We're asking for 50.3%, a marginal increase to allow this this footprint, practically negligible. The maximum building height in the M15, there is no cap on height. The proposal is for a 14-story building at 176 feet with roughly 12-foot floor-to-ceiling heights for each story. Again, the land use here, manufacturing, also permitted commercial and community facility use. Here, the proposal is for the ground floor and second floor with commercial use with residential above. And finally, as we discussed, the floor area here, permissible floor area at 16,700 square feet, and the proposal at 18,128 square feet. So basically, if you were to build out the floor area for a building pursuant to as of right square footage, you would have roughly a 13-story building given this floor plate. We're asking for something very similar, a 14-story building with that same floor plate, but with the addition, the important change of allowing for residential uses merely in the form of 12 two-bedroom units, 800 square feet per floor, and that's basically it. With regards to the variance findings, just to run through those, the site uniqueness and the conditions, the unique conditions on the site. Well, Novak, you know, who is a local resident and an artist, and admittedly not a developer by trade, he hired some good professionals. He had DeSimone, the engineering firm, conduct a geotechnical survey of the property. They made certain determinations with regards to what it would be like to build on this property. The small lot size here, the configuration of the lot, the fact that, number two, there's a high groundwater table at the site. The third fact that there's a poor soil quality at the site, and for the location within an AE flood zone would all contribute to a lot of requirements in terms of being able to put up any type of building at the site whatsoever. There would be special structural precautions that would be needed. So there would need to be dewatering of the site to prevent, to prevent sinkage of the foundations. There would need to be particularly special precautions in terms of pile foundations, as well as design elements, including a tangent pile wall system, which would ensure that there'd be no damage to any of the buildings in the area, particularly the very large, massive 19-story hotel building immediately to the north. The financial hardship findings, which are based on the A findings, demonstrate that without the proposed variance here, there would be a sizable loss in terms of attempting to construct even an as-of-right building here. The as-of-right scenario would yield a return of negative 11% and if allowed to proceed with regards to this property, there'd be a 6% potential return over the course of the application. And the C finding, the character finding, again, they look to the character of buildings in the immediate area. The immediate area here, obviously, dominated by the 19th-story building to the rear of the property.
Excuse me, it's Richard, excuse me. There's noise on the single phase.
Is he muted?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Again, with regards to the character of the area, you have the 19-story building to the rear, and not merely obviously on a 2,500 square foot lot, but on a massive lot, as well as the potential for 600 additional units, depending on the future of Gansevoort Square. This is not an area in which similar density is unknown. Here it is entirely appropriate, particularly on a relatively modest site. To continue with the presentation, and then I'll just let Walter briefly discuss the architectural materials. Again, we have the location of the site here, located within the M15. The next slide demonstrates the tax map. You can see the property situated west of Washington Street and near to the High Line. The next slide is the area map, again demonstrating uses around the property. In terms of manufacturing uses, another challenge on the site, of course, is producing a viable M15 use on a 2,500 square foot site. Many times these are brought to BSA and they prove challenging in terms of the opportunity and availability of actually producing an ongoing manufacturing concern on a similar site. The next slide actually demonstrates in the area of the site in support of the character finding, stories of buildings within the area. Again, 12 stories, 19 stories, 16 stories, 19 stories at the rear of the site, as well as 9 stories to the south of the site. Clearly, this site, particularly a building which does not suffer from a huge massing, would be reasonable within this area. We include some site photos so you can see the site. Again, many people may be familiar with the site from walking by and from meeting Novak. After this, you've got pictures again of the area, site immediately across the street, in terms of the proposal for the Whitney block and additional development. Walter, if you just want to briefly just touch base and talk about the standard layouts that the site would take. I then would probably have Novak just say hi to the committee, and then we're happy to answer questions.
Just give me a minute, please. We have two screens that say Faith Ergen.
I
And
apologize. I'm Walter Marin.
can you
Although
rename, can everyone, so we can know who all three of you are?
Sorry, my name is Walter Marin
Can you read?
Voice is modeled.
and Fatih Ergan, which is the second screen. And I apologize, we use the same link. He will be doing the presentation. He's the design architect on this project.
And the man in white is Novak? Okay, it is a little confusing to have.
Yes, I don't, Walter, I don't know if you can change your name.
Oh, that's great. No, that's
yeah.
done.
There you go. He did it. Perfect.
And can you change the other one too?
The other one is, let me just change it to Fatih and Novak.
That'd be great.
I think Alexa changed it for me. I didn't do anything.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So you're going to call yourself Fatih Novak?
Fatih Ergun, and Novak.
Okay.
Nori.
And that's for screen identification.
Thank you.
Okay. So the one on the left is Fatih and the one on the right is Novak.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to stand again in front of the community board. So as Richard,
just one thing, you're actually on our right, so. I didn't want to confuse
is
you.
it? Oh, sorry. Okay, got it.
Novak's the one with the white hair.
Yes, Novak is the one with the white hair. So we are located at an M15 district. The proposed building is a 14-story mixed use with cellar. Obviously, due to concerns, due to the flooding concerns, we had to move the mechanical floor on the second floor. At the ground level, we do have a retail use, and on top of it, it's a 12-story residential tower. So the typical floor consists of 2-bedroom apartments with the footprint of around 1,500 square feet per floor. And we do have a series of balconies in the front of the building, which allows us to view the beautiful view of Hudson Yards and obviously the entire meatpacking district and the Whitney Museum. So obviously this addition, this balconies will create immense amount of value for the property, and we think it's very valuable addition to our design. So obviously on top of the second floor, we do have a open terrace for tenants to use at a high line level. So we just want to make sure that our design is somewhat coherent with the neighborhood. And we just, even though we can't touch Highline, but we want to have the visual contact at that level, and that sort of creates a special and unique situation for our building design. And when it comes to materials, so we're planning to use glass and metal, and our intent is to create a modern building that fits within the historic neighborhood. And with the surroundings of the Highline and Standard Hotel and Whitney Museum.
Excuse me, Fatih, do you have any renderings of the facade? I haven't seen that in any of the materials that we were sent.
At this point, we don't have it. So we haven't developed, we haven't gone down to that further detail in our planning. So we just have a basic massing and elevations. The next step would be to develop those renderings.
Thank you.
So just to kind of conclude and to discuss Pete's comment in the chat as well as Andrew, if the additional bulk and height sought is negligible, then it shouldn't be much of a problem to do that without that gifted allowance. So thank you for the comment. The additional bulk and height sought is negligible in terms of being one additional story and roughly 1,400 square feet of floor area. But it's important to Novak in terms of the opportunity to develop here because given the amount of foundation work that he would have to do, the opportunity not only for that additional story, but also to allow for residential use here is really important to him. And, you know, obviously, like I said, I've been practicing before the Land Use Committee of CB2 for many years. I don't usually have applicants like Novak. You know, I know, given the history of this board, the importance that's placed upon the character of individuals who come before the board, but also what they mean to the community and what artists mean to the community. To me, after knowing Novak now for well over a year, I can tell you that he checks those boxes in terms of being a community person. This is not someone who is basically, you know, acting or presenting in a certain way for this committee. He's got a history within this community, which is impressive and really has shown that he's a contributing member and someone who's helped. So, you know, with that, we're hoping that the committee can help. We're happy to answer those questions. Novak, who was anxious to speak, I don't know, Novak, if you just want to say a quick hi, just to introduce yourself, and then we're happy to answer questions.
Board name is Jerry Lewis Norrie Jr. My professional entertainment name, trademark, is Novak Norrie. I'm the owner of 51 Little West 12th Street. Should I go on to?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm 80 years young. I waited a half a life, 40 years, for this precious moment that I perceived. I purchased 51 Little West 12th Street in the early 1980s. I held on to it, funding it with every dime that I earned. I had vision, made a decision to develop with precision, right timing. I had to wait. The first time was opening the Highline, upscaled hotels, then Whitney Museum with terraces, the first museum in the world that has terraces, offering panoramic views. And then the meatpacking became New York City's first international destination south of Midtown. The latest sign of magic importance that transpired when Governor Hochul hosted the ribbon cutting ceremony in 2023, opening Manhattan's first beach on my corner. Then there's Little Island, founded by Diane Verston's Baradilla. And then there's Google Pier 57. And so while the city is sleeping in development, the meatpacking district is stepping up to development. So my solution was to hire an experienced licensed professional team with success rate to represent 51 Little West 12th Street, to file a variance application and go before the BSA under the term financial hardship. The aim is to allow residential occupancy intermingled with the already existing M15 zoning. In my 40 years of residency ownership as an artist in the area, I'm well received by all, from owners to staff to visitors to people that visit the other boroughs and states. Thank you very much from Rainbow Land.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And Richard, does that conclude your presentation?
It does. We're happy to answer questions.
Okay, great. Committee members, you have questions to start with?
Did we get a copy of that, the slides?
The presentation?
Yeah.
Do we have, I don't think we have that. Can we get a copy of it?
Yeah. Happy to email it.
Okay, great. We'll send slide deck. Any other questions yet from the committee?
Frederica has her hand.
Okay, Frederica, thank you.
Yeah, hi. I've got a few questions. Richard, I cannot remember ever getting a presentation with one slide that didn't show the facade of the building.
Sure, Frederica. I appreciate that. You know, it's been as I mentioned, Novak he's an artist and he's a local resident, and this has been a trying application for him to date. As you can imagine, hiring construction companies, geotechnical engineers, et cetera, has been a tremendous cost. And so we have produced materials for BSA in terms of unit layouts and the general massing of the building, but we haven't taken the additional step to produce renderings. To the extent that the committee is interested in building types, materials and such, Novak would be overjoyed to basically take those comments, have Walter design to those specifications. But you know, understandably, these things do cost money, and we don't have a deep-pocketed applicant
Hey,
here.
Richard, he's building a building. He has
Correct.
a professional staff.
Of course.
Not to show the front of the building is, you have another month to produce that, so I would suggest that they get on that.
Happy to do it.
About the, is this a rental building or a condo co-op? What is it going to be?
So the BSA is not really particular in terms of ownership. You know, the conversations I've had with Novak have been twofold. The first is potentially he'd like to have community people living in this building. So to the extent that there was condos, for example, that those would be people who have in some way contributed to this local community as being in that building. The second thing, of course, is complying with fair housing laws.
Exactly.
So, that's
So
been
is
a
it rental
discussion.
or is it purchase?
Novak, I don't know whether or not you have a preference in terms of rental or condo. I think that, yeah, I mean, do you have a preference?
Economic fact, you can't develop and not know that.
Different financial model.
We have a preference.
I think that question is a good one, and it has its pros and cons. I don't think I could make that decision at this moment. I think it has to be left up to the financial feasibility consultant, and it's a wait and see how the market receives.
Okay,
the
but you're
property.
asking for a variance based
Yeah.
on a minimum return on investment, and I don't know how you can establish return on investment if you don't know whether
Sure.
it's
So Frederica-
purchase or rental. So
So
there's
Frederica,
that.
the BSA basically does not require an applicant to state whether or not they intend to do rental or condo. So in that light, it's not a decision that he's made.
Then how can you calculate your return if you don't know what the price is?
The return is based upon basically rental rates in the area as well as sales prices in the area. To the extent that this is a condo project, you know, the rate of return was projected to be positive 6%. So I think that the financials are likely based upon a sellout scenario.
Okay.
Having said that, there's no guarantee at BSA. They really are not, they're not
Okay.
specific in terms of form of ownership.
Okay, thanks. You're classifying the second floor as a commercial space rather than as a residential space.
Correct.
So how can we be sure that this isn't going to turn into a restaurant or an opportunity for music to be played?
Yeah,
I would be
100%.
concerned about that.
Sure. Novak, are we able to make any commitments in terms of, understanding the community board is concerned about noise and such, to not having a restaurant on the second story?
Well, what about just making it residential
Yeah,
space
sure,
instead of
whatever.
commercial space?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Am I concerned about my noise?
No. It's okay.
So they're
Okay, Federica, point taken. Thank you.
okay, perfect.
okay. No elevation of mechanicals in that area because of it being prone to flooding?
Yes, we are sitting on a 0.2% annual chance flood zone.
Okay,
So not currently, but in 10, 15 years, we might have a chance. So that's why we're
okay.
putting up.
We know how that worked out
Okay.
for Sandy. But lastly, you consider the presence of the High Line as a hardship?
We didn't factor it into our premium costs. The direct premium costs are basically due to the adjacency of the hotel. The High Line is not factored in as a hardship on the site.
Okay, it does say the board agreed that the presence of the High Line and geotechnical challenges created a legitimate hardship. I see that as a plus, not a hardship. So I frankly would be hard pressed to vote on this at this point. you have another month to come up with a professional presentation and I wouldn't be able to vote today.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Oh,
I have a. I have
Okay,
a-
Eugene and then Arturo.
I have a follow-up question. What was the response about I know that Frederica had asked about possible restaurant use. What was the response to that?
Sure. So to the extent, and I'm happy to just address this with Novak right now. Novak, and Eugene, is the question whether or not they would refrain from restaurant use on the second story?
They're saying, would you refrain restaurant using the second floor terrace?
My plan is to have the theme of exhibit and gallery and not exclusively restaurant. I'm the inventor of the wireless remote control keyboard in the world. I have patents. And I lend on a theme of which is in the area, creative invention, which is gallery and exhibition. That's what I'm leaning on. Now, when you're in a gallery and exhibition, you know, sometimes there's a menu, sometimes not. But I'm leaning on gallery exhibition, not restaurant.
So the answer is he'd be happy to refrain from restaurant use and to offer the space for gallery and exhibition as he's talked to us about internally before.
And I just want to add one little comment relative to that. It's really a very small space. So it's not as much as we would think a restaurant would fit there. It would be like 3 tables. So it's not something that I would consider a viable restaurant, even for, you know, it's just not that big. It's a good standing space, and the fact that he wants to kind of treat it more as a gallery type environment is more suited to that use.
The silence. Something wrong?
No, I think it's good.
Everyone went quiet. Was it that dramatic what I said?
No, it was not.
Do we have connection in the
Are you
community
guys
board?
waiting to ask? I do have a question. Can you guys hear us in the
Oh,
room?
yes, I see the hand.
No,
Right,
but
but I
can
don't
they
know
hear
in
us?
the room. I don't know. I don't hear any feedback.
What did you say?
Can you hear us in the room?
We can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, it's just odd that they weren't calling anyone, or we were just kind of sitting here. Yeah, we can't hear you. Are you guys saying something? We cannot hear you. So if you've called on me, I just started speaking because nobody was talking and it was awkward.
It looks like the community board
You
mic
guys are
seems to be
muted
off.
probably.
We cannot hear you.
Eugene, you're muted.
Not now. Now they're muted,
No,
unmuted.
the other computer says it's muted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's multiple cameras and computers.
Top 3 pictures are muted and there's
Yeah.
lightning going.
Probably the storm, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe there's a short.
Are you guys speaking? Because we can't hear you. Okay. They were just sitting here in silence. Nobody was calling on anyone.
Looks like they're trying.
Yeah. Oh, I know they are. I know.
Sounds like a bad day to forget your umbrella.
Yeah, I know. It didn't look like it was going to rain earlier.
It's not.
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
We're getting a lot of feedback.
There's a lot of feedback, so.
You leave the computer audio. So you have to, you audio. Yeah.
I did have my hand up for a question, but I don't know where we are with the status of.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can I ask my question? Great. Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your presentation. Question, when I understand you're seeking the variance here, this is why this isn't land use. So can you tell me when you're projecting to submit documents to the Landmarks Preservation Commission? What are you targeting?
Oh, so Walter, you can probably address, but Chair, we're not in the historic district. So Walter, I don't know, is there any required
Yeah.
filing?
That's correct. We're not subject to landmarks review.
Oh, okay. Maybe I put the wrong address in. It was showing for me, so I'll take a look at that. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, that's okay. It's 51 Little Westville, just FYI, Chair.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think just following up on Frederica's comments. One, having, the slides and the plans in advance would have been very helpful to review this and kind of follow along and take a better look at the terrace and the designs, as well as just seeing the renderings of the front facade as well as the side views from the High Line. I think it'd be very, critical to understand the impact of that on the views from the High Line, the views from the street, and just it's the neighborhood character, which is one of the requirements for the variance. The other question I would follow up with is, there was question about whether or not this is a condo or a rental situation, but in section B for reasonable return for the proposed scenario, it specifically mentions a condo scenario. So could you clarify that?
Yeah, so the financial analysis was basically drawn on a condo scenario. The BSA themselves does not condition ownership, the form of ownership of the building. They basically just look at the bulk and the use and decide whether or not the variance is appropriate. So we did pencil it out for condo development for sale of units, but BSA themselves would not have that.
We understand that, BSA. Thank you.
And then, so just a follow-up then, it would be great if you could provide then, if you are considering a rental analysis, a rental scenario, a rental analysis as well.
Okay, we can clarify that for sure.
And if I can go back to the financial analysis, there was on the larger economic analysis that was presented as part of the packet. For the proposed use for the commercial space was a restaurant.
Sure. So the purpose for the the purpose of the financial analysis is to basically maximize the return on the proposed development so that BSA does not basically accuse an applicant of trying to diminish the return in an effort to increase the actual return of the building once built. So Barbara Cohen, who's the financial analyst, would have penciled out the maximum return possible, which would have been for a restaurant on the second story and restaurant use in the building. In the event, yeah, I'm sorry.
But it sounds like the applicant is willing to forego the.
We are. Yeah, we are. Just to reiterate, this is like a tremendous opportunity for Novak. He's told us in no uncertain terms that that he really wants, regardless of the need for the community board to approve this, he wants the community board to approve this because of his relationship with the community. So to the extent that as Novak had said, he'd want to use this space for gallery purposes to basically demonstrate his art and create creative arts and stuff. He's happy to do that, and we're happy to basically commit to no restaurant.
Sure. And I just want to give a comment to the committee. when we're hearing the applicant and application today. However, because of the timing of the BSA variance and the way it's calendared at BSA, we have until September to submit our recommendation and our vote. So we will be convening in September to vote and also to approve the resolution at that meeting. So I would approach today's meeting as a fact finding. And if there are additional questions, it sounds like the applicant is very happy to, take these and come back
Yeah.
and back to the committee with
So,
additional.
I'm sorry, to
So
just kind of
let you
add,
know our timing.
to add just one kind of quick little point here, which I think it's an important factor. So what we're asking is the ability to use it as residence, right?
Sure.
Today, as of right, we can do any commercial use. So
Yes.
it's not like we're coming back and asking you permission to do the restaurant, assuming that we would do one. So the question here has to do with the use of residential use, not the use of commercial. So
Right.
if
We
in
understand
theory,
it's-
you can build the
There's-
6-story building and make a 6-story Chinese restaurant. Like you see in Chinatown, it's amazing. They go up in 5 or 6 floors. But all I'm trying to say is at the end of the day, that it is a residential request. And obviously the residence is a priority to us more than it is the 2 ground floors.
Thank you, thank you.
We got it. Frederica, I would like to ask a question, then we can go.
Yeah,
And
I
that's-
was confused by something Richard said. Maybe I heard it wrong with all the talk.
Wait, can you hear us?
Is it muted? No, we're using the owl. The
Okay,
owl.
can you hear me? I
Can you-
heard Richard say,
Wait, Frederica.
Frederica, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the question, Frederica, and then you and Valerie will go afterwards. I'm very curious about the condition of the demolition. If the Standard Hotel undermined the building that was on this site, and you had to demolish it because of that damage, what did the Standard, what did the Standard Hotel pay Novak for this damage?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and Novak could probably talk about this for like 6 hours or so, but I can have him answer that
I
briefly.
brought videos to the commission.
Yeah,
of the
so
building.
Novak,
Do you want to answer that?
Novak, could you answer in like just 120 seconds or less what the legal ramifications were to what happened to your building because of the Standard Hotel?
Richard, can you reiterate the question again?
Yeah, so the question was whether or not there was any financial settlement with the Standard Hotel for what happened to your building.
None whatsoever.
Thank you.
In fact, I paid the city almost $1 million at 10% interest over the course of 10 years. And the violations, stop work order, my 311 reports, and my video seen on YouTube all spells out proof that the Standard Hotel had careless contractors doing foundation work and pounding the ground and letting the Hudson River flood my basement, shorting out my electricity, being the beginning and onset of my demise, being thrown out on a street with my invention thrown out on a street, and no one come to save me. When I went to a lawyer downtown, a well-known lawyer, he said, give me $100,000 and I'll tell you when I need more. I didn't have $100,000 to send someone on a retainer that thought I was deep pockets. I was broke. I had no money. I was paying a mortgage as it was on the property. I had a permit, a standing permit, 103-068-058 to do construction on my building. Contractors had to walk away from doing construction because things were flying onto the building as they were building the Standard Hotel, whether it be intentional or accident, I don't know. But when I saw that,
Thank you,
My-
thank you, that's great,
Fine,
that's
Novak,
great,
thank you.
Now, I think Frederica has another question, and then maybe
I can't
Valerie.
hear what they're saying.
I I thought I heard Richard say that there's some protection in place from the BSA so that the project doesn't claim the maximum return. The point is to claim the minimum return so that you get the variance. So
It's an
I'm confused by the logic of what you said, Richard, but a lot of this is kind of confusing.
So 7221E basically is the finding which says that the BSA has to ensure that the return is not unreasonable in terms of the rate of return on the building. It can't basically allow for greater than a reasonable return. So that's the E finding.
Well, we know how these things work. They almost line up to the penny. So thank you.
Frederica, not
I'm
sure
glad
what
we have
cynicism
another month,
is
and I
out
hope
here.
that
You're,
you'll
let's
you'll
just see as
listen
much as you
to
can.
our
After why
concerns.
being so cynical, you just had a gentleman who basically demonstrated what happens when you go up against a 219,000 square foot building in the form of the Standard Hotel. And like, I think maybe like, this, just listening to him, hearing him out and seeing whether or not from a standpoint of finders of fact, you believe him, I think is pretty telling in terms of this application. So we'll just sit on that.
Okay, thank you. Now Valerie, are you still there? Is Valerie still there? I thought they had her hand up earlier.
Oh, I'm good. I put it down.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Yes.
So is it safe to conclude that the city did not find or come to that conclusion officially? That was just relayed to us?
Did you hear the question?
I'm not sure, Carter, can you just be a little bit?
Sorry, the line, what we was relayed to us. That's not necessarily, or it's not the conclusion that the city had, correct?
So the city wouldn't have required a private party to pay for, to pay damages to an individual. That would have been required to be part of the
I was talking about they didn't reach a conclusion as to where the damage to the building came from, right? That hasn't been demonstrated.
So no, the city deemed the building, I'm sorry, the city deemed the building unsafe and had to take it down. That was a city decision. That was not a Novak decision.
I understand that, but there was no determination of why.
Well, but Carter, the
It was
city,
unsafe because of certain reasons, but it was never demonstrated if there was a party at fault for that. Is that
no, so
correct?
the city would not have made that determination. The city basically just determined that due to the damage to the building and cracks in the foundation, that the building had to come down. But the city is not is not adjudicatory in terms of actions between parties and wouldn't have weighed in as far as who was at fault. That would have required a civil suit, and Novak, as he's talked about, was not in a financial position to bring the suit.
And then separately, at one point that it was relayed that there are plans to do a hotel here with 3 restaurants, a new connection to the High Line. Is that a viable plan? I mean, there seems to be a significant demand for affordable hotels, 40-room hotels. I mean, you see those actually coming back as something that people are looking for. So I was wondering if that's something that's been explored or if that was, discarded, that plan for some other reason.
Yeah, I could basically just say that I don't think that the size of, there's 2 things I think that are prevalent there, Carter. First would be that the hotel as of right condition with 16, actually less, probably around 12,000 square feet, may not be too attractive in terms of having critical mass for a hotel. I think also importantly to consider in that is that no hotels right now are as of right in the city and would require a special permit from city planning, which itself requires ULURP, which itself is quite a process. So the opportunity to do a residential development and essentially create 8 2-bedrooms would make Novak whole here, and would not require him to go through kind of an arduous ULURP process.
Right, also the footprint is too small to allow for an hotel use. We're barely making 2-bedroom apartments.
Okay, it just looks like it was an explored plan that was reported in the press.
Yeah.
So, like, any, you know.
No, I think you're right. The press carried stories about how they approached and wanted to put a connection to the hotel here, but that never materialized.
The connection was to the High Line.
Right, to the High Line.
Are there any more questions from the committee or board members online? In which case, I think we have some people from the public who would like to speak. Okay,
always promote them. Are there any questions? Otherwise, they can't be seen in their numbers.
yeah.
If you could bring it to trouble, that'd be great.
Okay, Andrew, are you coming up? Good evening, Andrew.
Hi, shall I go ahead?
Yes.
Great, thanks. So I'm Andrew Berman from Village Preservation. A couple of things. One is, I just think it's critical that we keep in mind that variances have to meet certain standards and aren't about whether you like or dislike an applicant or how we may feel about them. Variances have broad implications, and zoning is supposed to be based on applying equitable standards to all, not playing favorites. Any variance you give to one applicant will have to be given to others who cite the same factors, regardless of how much you like them or don't like them. So regarding this variance application, it is in fact for something that would be 40% larger than the zoning allows, and for a use that's currently prohibited, with many potential implications for doing so. And I say 40% because while the M15 zoning technically allows you to go up to 6.5 FAR for community facility, we know that for all intents and purposes, on a practical level, that almost never happens. It is a 5 FAR for commercial or manufacturing uses. I want to speak to the unique conditions that they cite in the application, all of which are, I would say, far from unique. The first is a 25 by 100 foot lot size, which, as we all know, is basically the classic New Manhattan lot size. It is the basic lot size in New York historically. There are literally thousands, tens of thousands or more of 25 by 100 foot lots in Manhattan. If that is grounds for a hardship, then we really don't need zoning at all. The subsoil conditions are not only pervasive throughout the meatpacking district, but along the Hudson River waterfront. What is unique here are the valuable features to this site that other sites don't have and don't have the advantage of: proximity to the High Line, proximity to the Hudson River Park, proximity to the Whitney Museum. And, you know, it hit the news recently that just 2 or 3 blocks down West Street, a record was set for a price for a sale of a residential condo. I believe it was $87 million, which just speaks to how uniquely desirable this area is, and not just for residential uses. I will also just point out that some of the comps that are used in the application, I really don't think are comps in the true sense of the word. You know, there was a building on 14th Street between 8th and 9th Avenues. Actually, I used to see a doctor who had an office in that building. It's a rundown old building on a block that is much, much, much less desirable and much, much likely to fetch the kind of prices that this one in the heart of the chic meatpacking district would. So some of those numbers I really question. And the last thing I just want to say is, you know, historically, we and many others have opposed residential variances in the meatpacking district because of conflicts with what were the traditional uses in this neighborhood: the meat packers, the nightlife, etc. It was very clear that it was impossible to have a residential environment here and to allow those other uses that predated them to really survive. Those are virtually all gone now. But the appropriate way to consider when, where, and how, and if to introduce residential uses into the meatpacking district, as well as what those impacts might be and what sort of mitigation needs to go along with that, is not a one-off zoning variance. A one-off zoning variance will have the effect of allowing other similar zoning variances to take place, but it won't take into account that sort of analysis that you really have to do if we are considering introducing as of right residential uses into the meatpacking district. So for that reason as well, I think it's important that that very big decision be made not through a zoning variance, but through a more appropriate process. That's the end of my comments.
Oh, would we have an opportunity to respond?
Richard, not your turn. Take notes and.
I'm sorry?
You're not your turn to talk.
Okay,
We're hearing from the public now.
thank you.
Lucille, hi. DeVito, wait a minute, she's muted. Yeah, can you unmute yourself, please?
Okay, hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. thank
Hi,
you.
good evening, everyone. I have a little statement I'd like to say. I oppose the variance because the quote hardships, unquote, arguments are bogus and don't meet the standard for the variance. The proposed 176-foot tall tower detracts from the authenticity of the meatpacking district. It is a money-making eyesore. Please vote no on the meatpacking district zoning variance for the 176-foot tall tower, which will be built at 51 Little West 12th Street. Actually, there should be a blanket refusal on any proposed structures that tower over the buildings that compromise the meatpacking district. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucille.
You're welcome.
And, I guess Zach is next, and then after him, Katie, Davey.
Zach. you're
Hi,
next.
Zach.
Yeah, hey. Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, my name's Zach Weinstein with Save Gansvort. Incidentally, I just want to mention, although this has been billed as a 173-foot tall building, there's an elevation in the statement of facts and findings that actually shows with an ornamental facade that the building will be a full 203 feet high. It's currently over 200-foot building we're talking about. So yeah, just to sort of get to the heart of the matter, in order to qualify for a variance, a lot, as we all know, needs to present unique hardships. And there's a serious problem here because this lot does not prevent unique hardships. As Andrew mentioned, the subsoil conditions result from the fact that the lot is on landfill. The entire section of the M15 district west of Washington Street is on landfill. That's several blocks. In addition, a significant section of the district east of Washington Street is also on landfill. So in no way is that a unique condition to this lot. Second of all, narrow lots are not unique. Andrew already mentioned the number of such lots in the city, but just in the M15 district on the NOLA map, I count at least 19 lots that are 25 feet or narrower. That incidentally includes the two lots immediately to the west of the subject lot, and it includes 835 Washington Street, which is 165 feet east of the subject lot, all three of which are also on landfill. I'm also a little concerned, there's some strange things in the statement of facts and findings. One of them is a reference to BSA precedents, and it quotes a variance 299-12-BZ, which was for 4056 10th Avenue, otherwise known as the Solar Car Building. And that variance is seriously mischaracterized in the statement of facts and findings. The statement says, and I quote, "The board, BSA, granted a variance to allow additional bulk and height on a constrained site burdened by subsurface conditions, including high water table, etc." That variance did not allow additional bulk and height. In fact, it kept the 5 FAR zoning that was as of right. It rejected the applicant's request for additional bulk, and there was in fact no request at all for additional height, nor did the variance grant one. That the variance quoted as a precedent is in no way a precedent for this application. The only alterations granted by that variance for 4056 10th Street were for adjustments to the rear yard setback and sky plane restrictions, and that was it. Next, Reasonable return, as Andrew mentioned, the applicant strangely fails to mention a number of the unique circumstances that the extraordinary benefits of this site's location. In addition to the ones that he mentioned, the High Line, adjacency to the High Line, adjacency to the waterfront park, adjacency to Little Island, 130 feet from the hottest landmark district in New York City, the Gansevoort Market District. It's not only near the Whitney, the proposed new entrance for the Whitney, according to the Gansevoort Square plan, will be directly across the street from this property. It will be immediately by the entrance. And the obvious value of that proximity for retail or restaurant use or other possible uses is obvious and yet not included in any of the financial analyses. I'm also concerned that the as of right financial analysis only considers a combination of restaurant, a building that would obtain a combination of restaurant and office uses. There should be an analysis, not really of a hotel, but of a boutique hotel, which would possibly be in keeping with the small floor plans, because we're not talking about a large number of rooms. We're talking about a small number of special high quality luxury rooms. A possible analog would be the Restoration Hardware Hotel on Gansevoort Street, which, albeit it's a somewhat slightly larger site, it's a very irregularly shaped site. And moreover, it was essentially new construction, because although they had to maintain the landmark facade, they essentially demolished the entire building, all of the structure within that facade, and built anew. So again, I think that's an analysis we should see. I also think that given the applicant's interest in the arts and wish to support the arts, why not consider what would be the financials of having the entire building as gallery space? Again, given the unique circumstance, it would be directly across from the entrance from the Whitney. I don't know if that would pencil out, but I think it's something that we should certainly see. Next, the statement of facts and findings says of the character of the neighborhood on page 12, the prevailing built form in the area consists of commercial office buildings, surface parking lots, and mixed-use buildings with ground floor commercial space and residential uses above. I have no idea where that came from, because there are no buildings in the M15 district currently with residential uses above the, anywhere, except for a few very limited apartments that were grandfathered in prior to the zoning. If anybody wants more information about that, I'm sure Donna Raftery can provide it, given that she's one of the very few people who does live legally in the M15 district. Next, there's a reference in the statement of facts and findings on page 13 to the fact that the proposed Gansevoort Square project provides basically a precedent or context for this proposal, because that project seeks to provide 600 residential units, quote, thereby acknowledging that this neighborhood can benefit from additional housing, end of quote. That is not what the Gansevoort Square project is supposed to do. The explicit rationale for the Gansevoort Square project is to provide affordable housing. And the statement in that project is this district and the area needs more affordable housing. This application will do absolutely nothing to address affordable housing. And there is no way that what's proposed at Gansevoort Square can be a precedent for what's going on here. Then lastly, under minimal variance necessary on page 15 of the statement, the applicant states that the relief requested is well within BSA precedent for similar relief granted to other lots within the surrounding area. Again, I have no idea where that came from. To the best of my knowledge, there has never been a variance granted for residential use in this M15 district. It just hasn't happened. Second of all, there has never been a variance granted for an FAR increase remotely close to what the applicant is asking for here. As Andrew pointed out, yeah, the 6.5 FARs for community facilities, that's, as far as I know, never been taken advantage of in this district. It's not a use that anyone has wanted to do. The FAR is 5. That's what would be allowed for commercial and office use. That's what the application uses for its financial analysis of an as-of-right proposal as an as-of-right building. And what is being asked is a 40.4% increase over the allowable as-of-right FAR. So I really think that this proposal needs to be rethought. I think that there is not a valid argument for hardship. And if there were hardship, I think the requested remedies, the mitigation, the size, the extremity of the variance is simply way out of line. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. And I think Pete has his hand up. So Pete, can you unmute yourself, please?
Sure,
There you go.
thank you very much. And thanks to the applicant for their presentation, and thank you to Andrew and Zach and others who have given us a lot of information about variances. My questions are a little more basic, a little more simple. The rendering or the image that we were shown that's part of the zoning document does not show the western side of the building. Given that that is on a lot line, am I right to assume that that will be a blank wall rising 14 stories facing towards the river? That's one question.
Can we answer?
My next, go ahead. If I can continue after the response, I'm not sure how y'all want to do this.
No, you're gonna give your questions and then they're gonna answer everything at once, so.
Great, okay. So my second question is about the proximity to the High Line. I was, for many years, a docent on the High Line, gave tours. I'm very familiar with the relationship of the High Line to the neighboring area, to the river. And it appears that this 14-story slab, 25 feet wide, but 100 feet long, will run up in a way that creates a wall, blocks the views from the High Line west. Now, nobody owns a view, but how is that not a negative impact on the community, on the city of New York? The investment that has been made by both the community, the neighborhood, the city, to establish this incredible park that is all about the relationship of the city and the surrounding area, including the river. So if the river is blocked off, and maybe that would happen anyway, but it will happen to a greater degree with the variance. I don't understand how that can be seen as anything but a negative impact of this development on the local community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pete. I'm going to turn around and see if there's anyone in the room who has a comment. Okay, sir, say your name and.
Oh, yeah, you gotta go out to the table, just so we don't.
Here, we can give this to you.
Oh,
I don't think that's.
The microphone is already,
Sorry.
My name is Bruce Epnother. I live at 130 Jane, which is pretty near the property. My question is in the financial analysis, you seem fuzzy on rental versus condo.
I know.
My question is, what are you assuming in the condo sellout? If you're saying that the variance is minimal, but somehow it makes a huge difference for the return of the project, I'm questioning what sales numbers you're actually using. As somebody mentioned earlier, 140 Jane has demonstrated sales values of 5,000 to 9,000 a foot. So what are you penciling in here? That if you don't get this variance, you're somehow getting a subpar return. It seems hard to believe.
So, sir, would you just repeat the, said 5,000 to 9,000 square foot on the new Jane Street project?
Yeah. So I'm just questioning, in this financial analysis, what kinds of numbers were used?
Right, okay, they're gonna answer all at once, so your questions on the table.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. And that's it? Oh, okay, could you please, or you're over here, because got to talk to that white line.
Hello, my name is Alec Puchnicki. I live at 167 Perry Street, about 10 blocks away from the site. I go to that site 3 or 4 times a month. Right next door to the site is the Brass Monkey Bar, and I go there for dinner 6 or 7 o'clock at night on Saturday and Sunday nights. Now that neighborhood at night at those times is deserted. It's empty. The restaurants in the Strand are usually packed. The bar is sometimes packed, but the streets themselves are empty. Besides the need for having housing in an area and diversify this so that the area is not just a tourist destination spot, but it's actually something for residents to live there, whether they're moderate income, high income, luxury income, or whoever ends up in that building, that location, that neighborhood can use more residential, more residents in the neighborhood, people who actually live there. I don't know how the financials are gonna work out. It seems that something that is just barely minimal. I don't know how that's gonna work out, or if there's any requirements for under any scenario to have affordable housing, either under rental or under condos with the new regulations, City of Yes and all that stuff. So I don't know if there's any requirement for any affordability. And I don't know what the upper level is going to be after hearing some of the local buildings that have been sold. In any case, I'd like to see some more neighbors in that area and diversify that area into more of a residential area than just a place to hang out on a Friday and Saturday night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, I think that we've heard all the comments so far. So Richard, now it's your job to refer to notes, we hope, and answer
Sure.
answer anything that you need to.
Great, thank you. And the only question that I would refer to Walter and Fatih on would be with regards to the treatment of the wall to the west. So I'll just let them answer that just after I just address some of the briefly some of the points that were made. Again, valuing the committee's time, we'll try to get through this as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Would you like us to answer first?
No, I'll answer first.
Okay.
So let's just deal with facts. Fact number one, this building as of right now, if you go into the Department of Buildings, can be built with a 13-story, 16,776 square foot building. Mr. Berman may not like that and may argue with whether or not it's going to be built, as well as Mr. Weinstein. But again, it's a fact that if you went into DOB with this property and this site, you could go in. The second fact is that that building would be a mix of commercial office and medical use, which is, as far as a reasonable return is concerned, not really able to get a reasonable return on this property. The fact, again, with regards to the size of the property, and again, this is with regard to BSA precedent, and Mr. Berman may not be aware with regards to recent BSA precedent, but the fact remains that 2,500 square foot properties in M districts are regularly given waivers to allow for residential use. Why is this? Because number one, the opportunity to put a manufacturing site on such a property is limited. A commercial use, while permitted, would depending on the nature of the site, not be permitted to really operate in a significant floor plate. And so residential waivers are regularly given in terms of sites like this. With regards to 2,500 square foot sites, you don't look to 2,500 square foot sites that are developed, like adjacent sites or sites with buildings that have been there since 1910. You look at development sites, vacant sites, of which this is one. So while we talk about the minimal waivers that are necessary, we talk about the bulk of the property being minimal waivers we're asking for. If you're talking about what Pete's discussing with the fact that you could put up, that we're asking for a 14-story building, the fact again is that you could put up a 13-story building, and you could put one up with one floor reduced to 50 square feet. But the fact remains that that building, given this site as a development site with the subsurface conditions which basically are presently an issue. Not talking about a building that's been there since 1910, has rubble foundations, has existed for a long time, but right now, this site cannot be built in terms of an as-of-right development. It means something different for a site like the Standard Hotel, which has 32,000 square feet of lot area and 219,000 square feet of floor area to be able to build. They are better able to absorb costs that are incurred in terms of groundwater, in terms of fill, in terms of pile foundations, what have you. This is not that site. This is a 2,500 square foot development site with these soil conditions, which provide these challenges. So I appreciate the testimony with regards to the appropriateness of residential use here. Again, in terms of the overall scope of the waivers, what's being asked for this building is very minimal. It is an additional 1,300 square feet and a story. What's being asked in terms of the use and the opportunity for a resident of this area for over 40 years to be able to make productive use of the property is huge. It's the opportunity to create residential units at this property and allow him to basically allow for a productive use of this property. I will leave it at that. I'd like Walter and Fatih to discuss the treatment of the wall, and then again, happy for the commission for the board's questions and happy to talk. But guys, you want to?
Yeah. So that's obviously one of the things that is important here is Novak is very much an artist, and I think part of what he builds as a legacy is going to be a piece of artwork. We do not intend to put a 175-foot wall for everyone to look at. And so as a firm, we have a reputation to meet. Two, his commitment to do this. So it is intended to be an artistic piece of artwork specifically, equally to both, but keep in mind that the Highline's looking at our building. So we are going to be very conscious of what that wall will look like. I'd like to think of it as a piece of artwork that extends from the ground up to that 170 feet. So it is intended not to be just a brick wall or a concrete wall. It is intended to be a piece of artwork. So that's sort of it.
To answer second.
Wait a minute, I just want to add, Walter, the western wall faces the river and the eastern wall faces the High Line.
Yes.
Correct.
About the western wall, but I feel that we were answering about the eastern wall. So are they going to be treated differently or what?
No, they would both be treated equally.
But however, the western wall is blocked by a staircase due to the site conditions.
Say it again.
The western wall will be blocked by a staircase. So we will not have much of a window. We can't open windows on the western end because the site is too little and we have to provide two means of egress, and that just extends the stair width. So there's literally no room for any windows there.
I think that once we do prepare renderings and we'll give it to you, you will like what our building looks like.
Well, I will just say personally, and Zach just back me up. We have worked over the years with places that are trying to put up monolithic glass walls, and we've gotten fake windows on the FedEx building, light box windows on the BCS building. So we do not like blank walls, and we're not. I'm just saying, if you come back to that with us,
and I truly appreciate that.
Although I'm not saying that we're voting.
No, I know that. I truly appreciate that aspect of it. And then let me tell you, our property next to us, there's nothing more wonderful that we would love to see is nothing but windows. However, building code doesn't permit us to do that. And it does force us to maintain a 2-hour rating on both those walls. So in order to do that, it's very minimal amount of glass and basically anything that prevents the building from withstanding a 2-hour rating on the adjacent property. So we are very much restricted. The front and the back, obviously, do have lots of windows, which you maximize that. But unfortunately, neither side of the building, we're very limited by what we can do relative to transparency.
Yeah.
And like I said, windows would be great, but we would like to put some, but they're very limited.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr.
Fatih?
does he have anything to add?
No, that's it. He answered it perfectly. Oh, I also, I think I want to mention this new development that was RFP issued for by the EDC right across our site, which allows for 600-foot residential development, and our view is blocked by that. Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, if that application went through. It's part of our
That
concern.
does not allow for 600-foot development. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's 600 units. It's currently it's under consideration right now.
Right.
That proposal is before this committee, and we're examining it with a fine-tooth comb, so, yeah, we're very much aware of it. I think Carter had one more thing.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a lot of discussion of this new building's artistic statement. How much extra does that add to the cost of the building?
I'm not sure that we have that sort of in mind. It hasn't been completed. Ultimately, it's how you treat the wall, the nature of how you build it. And we try to be as creative as possible. Again, the intention isn't to give you a concrete wall that goes up 170 feet.
I think some of this is going to be addressed when we return renderings to the committee.
Oh, Frederica.
Yeah, I was just thinking that this is where we're really suffering from a lack of the renderings in the presentation, and it's good that you have another month, and we look forward to seeing it all spelled out for us.
Thank you. Okay, so,
Just to Walter's point earlier on this being a project that prioritizes housing, I do want to actually applaud that. We've had other variance applications here where they had no intention of incorporating housing and it was a net loss to housing. And I think we're all intimately aware of the situation of housing in New York City. So I just want to call that out. I do think that is a plus for this project, but at the same time, to the applicant, you've received a ton of feedback and questions from the committee, and I think it would, do you well to actually respond to those in a fidelis way. Like, what are you doing? Are you doing condos? Are you doing rentals? It's a pretty, I would think at this point you would know. So I think if you can come back and be honest about your intentions, at least we can have, a fair judgment on what is actually gonna happen here.
Thank you.
What are you referring to as far as the variance of other projects and?
We've had other variance applications.
let's wait for that for business section, that'd be fine. Okay, unless there are more questions from the committee for the applicant and the team, I'm gonna close the public session, and Eugene is going to handle the business session. Everyone is welcome to stay to hear, but not expect to speak, okay?
And we just wanted to thank the committee, all the members, chair, vice chair, and the community board chair for hearing us. Novak was really excited about the opportunity to come here. We're going to respond to all the comments that were made, return materials to the committee, and we do appreciate your continued consideration. So thank you for that.
And we will be discussing it next month as well, so you can, be sure to listen in.
Thank
Okay,
you. So
thank you.
thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it as well, and for the opportunity to ask all of our questions.
Thank you.
So we'll open the business session. And again, you're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. The business session is purely for the committee members to discuss the application. So I guess let's open this up for discussion. I think what's before us, and again,
Thank you.
we have another month. To think about this, and again, to formulate questions that we would like further information on. Frederica, I think the asking about the rendering that was a good point. It's very difficult to see this without kind of massing and renderings, which is, I thought it was odd to see a presentation without that.
Since it's the basic.
It's a very basic I thought it was a very short presentation, if I'm being very honest.
And also, Eugene, it doesn't, that void with that terrace, I can't believe.
I don't know that they were clear on the response when I asked about the void, they didn't, right?
No, we need more.
So I thought, it seemed, I wish that the applicant was a little more straightforward in terms of their responses. I mean, I think even on the question of what they're doing with the commercial space, I mean, and whether it's condo or rentals, I mean.
It was surprising that.
Yeah, the document clearly said it was a condo sale.
Yeah, then he said, oh, they just didn't run the numbers.
This is truly disrespectful. What they did, I think what they're doing is just throwing stuff at it, to see what the reactions are, and they'll come back and hold it and try to do something that they think we would likely pass, but I can't believe they could be so incompetent as to come with that limited amount of information and no specific answers, very few specific answers.
Very few specifics.
I think it really wasted our time, and I think it's terrible that they did that.
I don't want to throw on the word evasive, but I mean, it wasn't we asked several questions that were pretty straightforward. And I think it could have had a very straightforward response. Frederica?
Yeah, I came in and they basically talked me out of the project. I was looking forward to a small building there. I don't get the 2-bedroom, 2-bath and 880 square feet, but that's not my call.
Very small.
But however, I was looking forward to housing. I thought 14 stories compared to what's going on over there is contextual. And I'm completely a little shocked. I look forward to next month, though.
Yep, all right, we'll see what the responses are.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a few things. I am concerned about the fact that they laid the standard for the destruction of the building, and yet there was no attempt to get anything from the standard.
Right.
And having dealt with that in my own co-op, you have agreements with neighboring people who are doing it just facade work and it's complicated insurance.
I looked a little, actually, beginning of the meeting into the background here. And this is an interesting case of what is more common times.
Okay.
Which is a building that was required to remain vacant on the upper floors because it was not sprinkled.
During the construction?
No, in the past. from
Oh, in the
60s,
past. Oh,
Because it was
general.
an unsprinkled building.
Okay.
So that wasn't uncommon in loft buildings, and there were a number of buildings through the 90s on Bowery that weren't allowed to have any upper floor occupancy.
Okay.
So the permit that he was talking about, I think that it looked like, I just did a quick look, like there was some sprinkle permits, and there was an alt one to put occupancy back on the upper floors of the building. So the building was vacant perhaps, or at least was supposed to be, so it may not have been maintained, which is also not uncommon through that time period, as we know, just throughout the manufacturing districts. So that's why I asked the question, what was happening, because it may have been in process and something filed, but it may have been that the building wasn't in great condition. I'm not saying whatever happened should have happened, but it's just unusual.
Maybe just. You're saying it could have been a mitigating factor.
Yeah, I mean, and there have been some, just over time, just in my own memory, being interested in this and reading cases, the buildings, there was some slight, for example, the replacement of artifacts building on Houston, they will remove a small portion, put in the doorway on the ground floor, and the building collapsed, and 4 or 5 cats died. But there was so much weight that was put on the roof, as an example, because they were displaying architectural elements that were very heavy and took them through. So there's a lot more there. I'm not discounting the narrative, the applicant of what happened, but it doesn't seem like it's a complete, whatever was happening. And Katie's point, we do construction next door, we see that's.
Yeah.
But if it was a real poor condition building, it should, just saying, given that there's no occupancy allowed on the upper floors, and just from.
I think
And there's, and they, you know, and there were illegal after hours clubs and some other stuff and. So it's not necessarily the type of property that has owners and again, not the current applicant will take care of, so if that's what you're purchasing. No, I'm not sure if that's relevant to any of this, but just by means of the background, I think that this is a.
That's kind of the background of the site.
Yeah. I mean, I could be incorrect, but just a quick look at things, that's.
I mean, it does seem odd there wasn't any remuneration from the standard for that, if it was the case.
Well, they said there wasn't.
Right.
That's what they said. I also did a little, Googling. No, I did a little nosing around about, the commercial rent possibility.
Sure.
And they were based it on $51 to $73 square foot for area office rent. But if you just go into Google on an AI search, the range in this area in the Meatpacking District is $65 to $118 a square foot for office space, which is, you know, almost double, you know, what they're saying, you know, more than double the 51. So the average is $98 a square foot, and they're not, that's far less than what they're saying in their comparable. So I don't.
Right, in their as of right scenario.
Yeah, so we really, that's very, there's a big disconnect there. And I also saw that $87 million plus, increase sale of a condo in Jane and West. And this is going to, you know, this is.
Do you know if their as of right scenario assumed that they would have an FAR 5 building or an FAR 6.5? Because they were very insistent that actually they're not asking for that much more, that it's really FAR 7 and change versus a 6.5, but in their as of right scenario, it doesn't look like they use 6.5.
So that's again, you know, they're always.
Inconsistency, yeah. They're using one figure to claim a hardship and another to claim that they're not asking for much change. You know.
Yeah.
I would pick one number or the other. Right?
Before I forget, just wanted, I thought that one of the points that Andrew raised with respect to, you know, what to find his name in the district.
Right.
That it becomes, the lead.
That's.
And I think that the point that this made in area was a reconsideration of some of the allowable uses, you know, or we mentioned along the site across the street, if there are changes or that having a larger area, there would be a better plan on what can be built, particularly on lots of this size, you know, if that becomes along. So I don't know how, if that's any part of this, but I haven't really thought about that before, and was wondering if anybody had any thoughts on that, if that's a consideration to present, because, you know, this is an area that is in transition, I think.
But this is one of the things that we, you know, before I was on the board, Zach and I and Kathleen, we had a lot of variances stuff in the south. One Morton Square variant, one after the other. And the problem always was that there was no rezoning, which would take into account the sewer, transportation, schools, and there was no plan for what these new people would need when they got to a previously unresidential area. And we're still catching up.
And a flood zone was also, you know, an open question is I mean, that's but you know, displacement after any, you know, can it actually be rezoned, right? But also, you know, we had a lot of variances for residential, you know, as well. We had quite a few that were there, and the hardship, if I remember, I could be lying. I think it was the abutting to the transit subway.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for.
It limits what you do.
Yeah, but you know, those. Contextual, obviously, it's within the landmark district.
Yeah. Well, I mean-
They just seem like
I mean,
don't take away from where they're built, and I should probably go back and just look at, I'm just interested in that, but
so, and then the other thing, of course, is there is no Gansevoort Square yet. So it's not gonna impact any views from this building now. But if Gansevoort Square goes forward, the whole area will be rezoned and all these things should be thought through properly.
Not the whole area.
I mean,
just that.
But
It's
yeah,
like, this is the view that would be affected, right? You're gonna have a giant,
right,
vast block, and then you would have like a 14-story tower here, which you already can't see the water from here anyways, but.
anyway.
the other thing was that we also saw just prior to the rezoning, one of the other manufacturing districts, somebody built a really tall office building and it has a single tenant. And those are not out of favor. In fact, single tenancy commercial buildings, while maybe an outlier in most places, do not seem to be an outlier within our community for a number of the reasons that other people have cited about their interest in this particular area.
But if he
And,
does a condo, he makes all his money back. If he's renting, whether it's to people or to a single business, he stays, it's a whim of the market.
Over the years.
So the only way to, he said he waited 40 years for an opportunity. His opportunity is to build a condo.
I mean,
Yeah.
the reference was made to sort of the high-end luxury, right, in this area. All we see is reversion to single occupancy.
Yeah.
Over and over, whether it's commercial, residential,
Yeah.
whatever it is,
But
right?
it's a 14 square.
And,
It's
well,
not
but
gonna
that's,
go up.
no, but in a commercial context,
Yeah.
as a right, it's a single use building for boutique, whatever it is, and that doesn't seem out of context. In the grand scope, and I think that we've seen some.
Well, it's really, we're saying to him, you be a rental landlord, whether it's for people or for businesses. He's 80 years old. I don't think he wants to be that. I think he wants to cash out.
I'm not telling.
No, I know,
It's a
but
lot.
anything other than
Commercial
condos, there's no
development.
guarantee of enough money for him. After 40 years. I think.
So,
that's-
I think that Paul selling the property.
You could sell the property,
it's
yeah.
net leasing the property.
Yeah.
That's, we know that there are a lot of complicated structures that go about to
Mhm.
having these forward. But my point is it doesn't, it seems like ruling it out so quickly. When we have all these some crazy outliers, that it almost seems to be more of a norm. But also, I don't know how you explore that. And that's tied into what you were saying. I don't, the calculations I know is very formulaic, right? How do you come to that? So I don't know if that's been applied properly or not.
Yeah.
Beyond.
One thing on the commercial, like, it is a mix of very different types of buildings, right? You have some of the more historic buildings, but you also have the newer multi-story glass. That is slightly more amenable, I think, to commercial and industry. An 880 square foot footprint for anything seems pretty small for an office or, I mean, it really is very limiting, I think, but.
Yeah, it seems to lend itself more to like a boutique retail type of experience, right? We're not, obviously not gonna see a grid, right?
Yeah, but for instance, the Restoration Park Hotel is not big. But, people want to stay in the meat pack. We've had, at the SOA, we've had co-working spaces. The meat packing has been hot over time for co-working spaces that serve beer and wine and liquor all day long to the people who were working there, right in the Flatiron, the mini Flatiron. So there are other uses that are.
And it's a very hot area for office uses, because employees want to be there because of all of the things that are right near there. And if I would think that if we have a smaller building or a smaller company, you can have all of that, not have to be the Googles of the world to be able to have an all-inclusive space.
Should we ask them to revisit their financials, their economic analysis? I mean, in terms of,
I think that's what,
But
one
there's-
of the things that we got asked, I think.
Well, their response is what everybody's always used to be when they came to variances, which is that you can't get manufacturing anymore, they can't get offices anymore. We used to hear that on everything, and then there's rezoning happening, so we don't hear it,
Right.
but there, you know, his argument was just the old argument.
Yes.
They'll come back with,
Gotta
they'll
respond,
come
yeah.
back with, and we'll approve it or not. I mean, that's, we don't have to ask them for anything.
I don't think there's any point in asking them to revisit the financials unless we have a professional who could also look at their financials. I think there's enough other issues that we can consider without going to the financials. But when I think about a 880 square foot apartment, I think, wow, a one bedroom, 2 bath apartment sounds really good. And a 2 bedroom, 2 bath apartment sounds like terrible. So
Especially with the layout.
Well, and
You can't say any apartment's terrifying in a housing crisis, you know, we always say. It's a big apartment.
And I mean, it seems that it's not about whether it's housing or not, it's whether or not that this leads as an example of what
Right.
housing should be on these, if there's a hardship on a normal sized lot.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's what it comes back to, is that if we have many lots of this size, what would be where you would get to? If housing is about, you know, and it seems that this is a little, you know, beyond what. I don't know, it's just, but that's a different discussion. And that also it leads itself into proper community planning.
Right.
You know, which is what we want to develop these properties, I would think, and then again, may not be a finding, but it seems like a better way to get people. But I think that we should be commenting on all of these areas.
Yeah.
You know, whether or not we ask them to come dashboard.
Well, we don't need to really direct them.
No,
They're gonna come back, they barely had a plan. They're gonna send us the slides, they're thinking about a friend.
And I think, Frederica, your comments that, you know, if you were talked out of it, are, you know, it's hard to digest all the different elements.
Yeah. I think Valerie, do you want to comment? Are you coming back on visual?
I mean, I would just suggest, I think anytime you have anyone present to a committee, that you should request those materials ahead of time so that people can see them. That would have saved, there was a lot of comments that took up time about how we didn't have this and we didn't have this. And then my second thing would be to have something drafted that you guys could look at or send around before the next meeting. And then that way you're just filling in from whatever's presented. And if they're presenting something again, I would offer that advice to request those materials a few days beforehand so the committee can look them over. And so your meeting is very efficient. That's it.
It's surprising. We always do.
Yeah, we were surprised.
You assumed that they would have submitted it.
Yeah, we thought this would be a real presentation.
Yeah, this is the outlier, I think. We always have a presentation before, hence the comments.
Great.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, good. So we'll discuss this next time. I think between now and then, we can start drafting an outline for the resolution.
That would be good.
Circulate that before, but we don't have a lot of time after, between the next meeting and the board.
Right, I think it would be
and
good to just circulate the points we just
Right,
discussed.
right, and there will be other items. There's another application that probably will be coming on the September agenda. The one that was originally.
Lafayette Street, that didn't come to it.
Right, and that one is actually an as of right development, so we don't necessarily need to comment. we're getting a notification, so that's under the new City of Yes guidelines. It's a notification, but not a required action from us. However, an interesting site, and it's a very,
We're Lafayette.
what, it's Lafayette. yeah.
And we're.
That's in China, it's in the China.
Just
China.
north
It's
of
like
now.
between now and Howard. Yeah, it was actually the site where, there was a construction accident a few years ago with the construction worker that died.
Oh, yeah.
On the demolishment. It was on that site. We're demolishing the original building.
The other aspect that I thought was that if we could just it's outlined is the comments, I think that it was Zach had raised with respect to the intent of the housing.
Oh, in terms of affordable.
Right, I just like, whatever those comments, not be submitted anything in writing, but that's, I'd like to know. Because I thought that was an important element, because future housing.
Right.
Right, it is. With the variance, I don't think it's subject to any of the other requirements, right? So.
It's not, it's too
so-
small and.
Right, but I'm just bringing that up because I think that
Well, he
that's.
could have been expected when he said the whole thing is his concern with the community, that he might have thought that was in the part.
I didn't understand the part where he said he wanted people in the community to live there.
They didn't. And they were doing, he's an old guy, he's so nice, he just wants to do some nice things. Just a lot of.
I didn't see anything that was specific that was going to be a community asset. But, I don't know, maybe I misunderstood. But yeah,
But I
we'll
think
get
there's
written
some
comments.
confusion that people think that other regulations apply to this development, they're seeking a hardship, and that's not the case.
That's not the
right?
case,
And
correct,
I think that that's important to allow just people to understand that.
right?
And I think that any requirements for any type of development this size that aren't applicable is something we should be aware of, because I think that that's a part of why having better approach to housing throughout the area and with it as a right is important. And so that, the goals of the city it can also be met if, instead of getting a whole bunch of area. Without a better plan.
Yeah, this is nothing for affordable housing. It will be nothing for affordable housing.
Just. Any of the number of them.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We'll reach out.
Oh, does she have her hand raised?
I think reach who?
Ritu has her hand raised. Oh.
Thank you.
Hi, Ritu. Thank you for joining.
Um. Oops, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to say that I live a few blocks away. I have been to the site many, many times. I've actually met the artist several times. He's a very special character. And I do not have confidence that these folks are really taking directions from him. And so it would be, I don't know if it's at all possible to have him attend, but the size of the lot is extremely small. I can't even imagine a building of that height being sustainable in that size lot. So for those two reasons, I would, I applaud you for asking your great questions and for having them come back. But this does not seem like a viable project for many reasons. Thanks.
Thank you, Richard.
The applicant was here and he spoke.
Oh, he did. I'm sorry, I missed that part. Sorry about that.
Yeah, he was sitting with one of, was it the architect?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were in the same office together. He gave some comments, brief.
So So just in circular, I was looking at the drive. Our response form.
Yeah.
Oh. We basically have 4, just to keep us thinking in the directional. Just on the PSA recommendation report.
Yeah.
So it's approve with modifications, conditions, disapprove, recommendation waived, favor, against, abstaining, there's the votes. Except I'm just bringing them up.
We
And
can write a regular.
I think there's a leading it, but let's see why, if they come back, but I just.
Yeah, I looked at that, but
Just a reminder of getting us the direction of.
but we can put our own resolution in the or attach it as well.
Yeah,
Or even
yeah,
write.
I'd like to say something.
I think go to each of those, any of the comments and how they might go to each of those. Conclusion, I'm not saying direct, just whatever it is, because that might help us.
Yeah.
With multiple items next time.
Sure, thank you.
Sean?
Yeah, I was just listening. And then when Ritu just spoke, she really made a good point. Because in the M15A and B in Soho, there were quite a few 25 by 100 foot lots. There was one on Spring and Worcester, southwest corner, that has been empty for about 15 years, and they came before the Landmarks Committee and they wanted to build, and they couldn't build residential because it was just too narrow to put in 2 means of egress and an elevator. And there's behind me, there is a similar 1-story taxpayer, former garage that they're not building on. There's an art gallery there, and if you, all along West Broadway, there were a lot of 2,500 square foot lots with 1-story taxpayers that have never been built on. Now, I understand where the committee's going, but I think he's being correct in saying that it's not economically feasible to build on a 25 by 100 square foot lot. Otherwise, they would have done it in Soho. Can anyone recall a single 2,500 square foot lot that's been developed in an M15?
Is the
Well, actually, Sean, I think we might have had 2 on my street on Green, Tony Goldman's. We had 2 1-story buildings across on the west side of Green between Prince and Spring. I mean, it wasn't yesterday, but those now are fake cast iron buildings that just blend in. And there was also a parking lot on the east side of Green, which went all the way through to Mercer.
Yeah,
And
but
they got extra height because they kept space, which you can't see from the street, but I see from my south windows in between. So maybe those were a little bit, they're Soho, but the 1-story buildings across the street, one was a factory, one became Green Street Cafe. The other was Spy the Club. So
isn't the Green Street Cafe 35 feet across?
I mean, just saying there were these 1-story buildings but the lot you're talking about on Spring is tiny. That's the smallest.
25 by 100. And I think the building that you're referring to, where the Soho Kitchen and Bar used to be, weren't those buildings demolished and a new building built?
They were not built on top of it, yeah, but I'm just thinking of the size of the lots.
Yeah, but they're wide.
Make something tall. The parking lot, I don't think was wider. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The hardship case is what we always hear.
There
And I'm
was,
just saying, maybe it is hardship.
there was a little bit bigger, 35 by 100 odd shaped lot. That was one of the ones I was thinking of. That's on the southwest corner of Great Jones and Lafayette. There was an odd shape.
That's 3,500. It's apples and oranges. You can't compare 2,500.
Small lot. There were two 25 by 100 lots that were combined.
Yeah,
That's
what I mean.
Bond, yeah.
So that's therefore a 5,000 square foot lot, not a 2,500 square foot lot. This guy can stand, he's stuck there. He's literally between a rock and a hard place.
If with 800 square foot apartments, if they included affordable, you would applaud them. It's just that they don't know what they're planning to do. I mean, I guess we should just see.
Mhm.
Okay, have enough discussions.
All right,
Okay.
thank you,
for
everyone.
coming in
Thank you.
August.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
thank you for
participating in
making the
August.
August meeting.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we, following up on the Charter Revision Commission ballot questions?
We are not, because I mean, technically the comment period for the charter revision has closed. So, yeah, I think we had like talked about whether we need to talk about the actual proposals. I mean, they're gonna be on the ballot in November. But I think because technically the comment period has closed for it, we didn't seem like there, I mean, do you think that we would have a need to specifically?
I mean, I was just wondering what was like
Yeah,
the usual workflow. If we comment, they make the rules and the ballot initiatives, and then we comment again, or it kind of just ends at like the comment period to the commission.
Influence, except on the vote.
Okay.
The period is tight.
oh, yeah.
One thing, 'cause I've been through this before. The law department in 2018 was very, very adamant that community boards not comment on what's on the ballot. There's a comment period.
Yeah.
Because it's considered to be interfering with electoral politics as opposed to proposals. So in a minimum, if you were inclined to do that, I would apply to or have me apply to the law department for a ruling first, but I'm almost certain what I know that ruling is gonna be.
Oh, that makes, so that answers the question.
Area we're not supposed to operate in. Okay,
Are we adjourned?
yeah, any new business? Nope, okay, hang on a second, we're gonna close the meeting. Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.